how to create a household for clients that are in the database and for clients that are being added to the database as a new household. So I'm going to first start by creating a household for a client that was already entered into the system as a single person and now has either gotten married or had a baby, whatever the case may be, but you now have more than one person. So I'm going to pull this existing client up by searching for her and pulling her up. And as you can see, this client has currently no household because she was entered as a single. So in this case, I need to click the button that says Start New Household. And at this point, I'm going to select my household type, and I'm going to search for the person who needs to be added. So this client's name is going to be Thomas. So I searched for Thomas, and Thomas is not found. So I am now going to complete Thomas's information, just like I would for any other client in the system. I'm just filling in all of his data. And now I'm going to click Add. The system asks if you searched. Yes, I searched. And now I have a household of 2 people now in this household. So at this point, if there was a 3rd, 4th, and 5th person, I would scroll back to the top. I would clear Thomas's information. I would search for the 3rd person. I would add the 3rd person. And then I would have 3 names. And then I would go back to the top, clear again, search for the 4th person, add the 4th person. So until I have all the names going into this household, I do not click Continue. Once I have my household created, I then click Continue. I now answer my 2 questions. Who is the head? And what is the relationship of the other person? I save and exit. And now I have a household of 2 people. Now, this person was already in the database. So it is possible, and more than likely, that you already have an ROI. So if, for example, I'm pretending that this is the organization I work for, this client has an ROI that extends until the year 2018. But I now have a new person. So I'm going to pencil the already existing ROI, and I'm going to click the button that says Include Additional Household People. I'm going to check all appropriate people, click Continue, and save release. I now have a release of information for 2 people. Okay? My client is already in my program as well because the mother came in before the child. And so what I would do at this point is I would pencil the entry record, and as you can see, just like with the ROI, I have this option to include additional household members. So I'm going to include the child, continue, save and continue, okay? And now I have to remember that I need to answer all the questions for the child. So I would come over now and answer all the questions for the child. So I'm just going to click stuff here representing the fact that I'm answering questions. So I'm going to pretend then that I answered all the questions for the child or the additional person. Okay? Now, what you need to keep in mind is that when you use the Include Additional Household Member button, it puts the child's entry date that of the mother. So the child came in after mom, so the child is going to have a different date. So you have to remember to go back and change the child's date. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. You have to be in the child's record in order to change his date. So I'm going to, just for argument's sake here, I'm going to change this date to the 30th. There we go. And close. Okay. I'm going to switch to the child so that I can see his date is the same as mom's. So I pencil his record, I uncheck mom, and I change his date to a few days after mom. So as you can see on this screen here, mom came in on the 4th and the child came in on the 10th. So I will scroll to the bottom and save and exit. So now I have a household of 2 people who have now been added together as a household. Mom came in on the 4th and the child came in on the 10th. So that is how you add more people to an already existing household. And the case would follow through that for any other item that you need to add for the child, whether it is case plans, case manager tab, service transactions, you're going to have that include additional household member button. So you want to make sure that if you've added services or you've added yourself as the case manager, that you add that additional household person to the household once you've created the household. So that's how you add a person to the household after one person has already been entered into the database. Now what I'm going to show you is how to create a household from complete scratch. So I'm going to search for one client, and John Thomas is not in the database, so now I'm going to add John Thomas, and I'm just going to very quickly fill out his information so that I can quickly do this so that it does not take too long for you. Okay, I added John Thomas, and I'm going to click the middle button here because John Thomas has more people with him. He is not a single. So again, I'm back on the search screen, and this time I'm going to have a couple with no children. So this is going to be Mary, his wife. Okay, Mary is not in the system, so I'm going to add Mary now to the system. And again, I'm just trying to run through this as quickly as possible so that it does not take too long. And of course, I am skipping steps accidentally. There we go, add Mary. So now I have a household of 2 people. I have Mary and John. Now, once again, if there is a 3rd, 4th, and 5th person, I'm going to scroll back to the top. I'm going to hit the clear button. I'm going to search for the 3rd person. I'm going to complete all their questions, and I'm going to click Add. And if there's a 4th person, I'm going to scroll back to the top, click the clear button, search for the 4th person, add the 4th person, and then I would have 4 names down here at the bottom. I do not click Continue until all the names that I have going into this household are visible on the screen. Click Continue. Who is the head? And the other person is the wife. Save and exit. Create my ROI. Remember to check to include everyone in the household. Do my entry exit record, include everyone in the household. And again, I am just going to quickly answer questions, simulating the fact that I'm answering all the questions. Okay, I'm going to save for John, because I'm on John's record, and if I scroll back to the top here, I get a green check because John's questions have been answered. Now I need to answer the questions for Mary. So again, I'm going to just simulate that I'm answering all the questions. I'm just pretending that I'm answering them all. I'm going to click Save again. And now if I scroll back to the top, I have 2 green checks. That lets me know that I've answered all the questions for both John and Mary. I'm going to now click Save and Exit. And if I do my Case Manager tab, I'm also going to click to include the household members, Add Case Manager. If I then continued on with case plans or service transactions, I would also make sure that I click to include household members. So that's how you create a household from scratch. That's how you add a household member to a household that already exists. And now what I want to show you is, let's pretend for just a moment that Thomas, who I added a minute ago, was Tammy Faye Baker's son. Let's pretend for a moment that he is now 20 years old. And he has come into the system. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change his age so that he is now 20 years old, just so that I can show you what happens. I went the wrong direction. There we go. And I can't apparently do math in my head here. How is that? Okay, so Thomas now, he was entered into the database several years ago, but he's now come back and he's a single adult because he's now 19 years old. So what I want to show you is when you pull a client up that's already in the database and you go to the household page and you see that Thomas and Tammy were in a household together a long time ago, there is no need for you to click Start New Household button. There is no need for you to Manage Household button and remove Tammy Faye. There's no need at all to do that, because once you start adding all of your additional tabs, what you're simply going to do is not check Tammy Faye. If I don't check Tammy Faye, then what I have is essentially a single client. So when I go and do my entry record for Thomas, I'm again not going to include Tammy Faye. When I click Save and Continue, see, it says, hey, there's household members, but yes, I want to proceed. I'm then going to answer all of my questions for Thomas, and when I click Save and Exit, it's going to show me over here that I have a client count of 1. I have a single person. That's all I need. I did not need to add, remove, or delete anything about Tammy Faye. I simply ignored her name, and that's all you need to do. You simply ignore her name. It's that easy. Now, one thing that you do not want to do is you never want to start a new household if your household already exists. We have some case managers who are starting new households and putting the same people into yet a second household. And so what we have is we have a join date of 2014, and then we have a join date of 2015, and that's not what you do. If the household already exists, you utilize the household that's already there. You manage and add new people in case she's had another baby, or you simply ignore the other person's name and only select the one client name that you're going to be working with. So that covers how to create a household from scratch. That covers how to add a new member if a mother has a baby. And it also shows you that if one of the people who were put into a household together comes back, you can simply ignore the other person's name and do your data entry for just the one single person. So that concludes the webinar on how to create households. Thanks.